Hello and welcome to another episode of my series of videos about being green, solar panels, generating your own electricity, that sort of stuff. It's been a long time since my last video. Lots of things are sort of coming up and on the go, and I thought I better start making some more videos again. So I thought I'd start off with something that's happened in the last few months. I was looking at our usage of our solar power, and we use quite a lot of what we generate, and I thought it would be good to see if there was a way we could utilize more of our own energy. And I've already got, as part of my system, rules set up to divert spare power to the immersion heater to heat up hot water when there's no other use for it, and obviously it charges the car and charges the house battery, all that sort of stuff. So but still we have on sunny days large amounts of electricity just being exported to the grid because we've got no other use for it. And I thought it would be good if we could find a way to use more of that power. So it got me to thinking, a lot of the time during the day, we make lots of cups of tea and coffee, and obviously every time you boil the kettle, most people, like we have, a rapid boil kettle. And they tend to draw about 3,000 watts of power when they heat the water. I mean, they heat the water really quickly, but 3,000 watts is a big draw. And even with the system I've got, I'm not, or my inverter is not able to supply that amount of power from its batteries. So we always end up pulling some energy from the grid whenever we boil the kettle. So I was thinking it would be good if we could find a way to heat a reasonable amount of water for use to make teas and coffees and things like that, using the spare power that's available during the day when it's particularly sunny. So I went onto Amazon and had a look around, and I found this kettle urn type thing, which basically can hold about 3.5 litres of water, and when you turn it on, it heats up the water slowly. So I think it pulls about 680 watts when it's actually boiling the water, and this fits in really well, because it means that if you get the sun coming out from behind a cloud for a bit, and there's about 600-700 watts going spare, it'll switch that on and start heating that water up, and then maybe the sun goes behind the cloud again and it disappears, and then it shuts it off again. But over the course of the day, the temperature of that water will slowly come up. Now it's an insulated device, so once the water is hot, it stays hot for quite a long time before it needs to be topped up with a bit more energy to get it back up again. So over the course of the day, it's heating it on and off, on and off, on and off. And then I've got a rule that says at 3 o'clock in the afternoon that it just switches on regardless of whether or not there's any solar. And then that way, by the time everyone comes in from work and school, it's fully boiled, it's up to temperature, and it's ready for making cups of tea and coffee when we all get in. And we can also use the energy for we can use the hot water for cooking, and that obviously filling up the pan with pre-boiling water means that we don't use so much gas to get the water temperature up before we put the vegetables in, etc. So that was the idea behind it. So I obviously got it connected to one of my controllable plugs, and I've set up some rules that you can see here. the first rule is that basically says that if there's any energy going spare, or at least 680 watts going spare being exported to the grid, and obviously if the battery's got enough charge in it, then switch it on, and that runs from 7:30 till 3. So basically it'll be switching on, off, on, off, on, off all day, just as and when there's power going spare. And then the next rule basically says that from 3 o'clock until 7:30 the following morning, it's just on all the time. So it doesn't matter about the energy or the battery. It's just on from 3 till 7:30, and that's so that the hot water's there when we get in from work and school, and also it goes all into the evening, and it just keeps it warm through the night, so that when we get up the following morning there's still hot water available to make the first cup of tea and coffee in the morning. And then from 7:30 it'll switch off, and that gives us a chance to then refill it with water, so that the whole process can start again while we're out at work and school. The last rule is basically just that says that if the battery's basically almost full and there's even just 200 watts going spare, it's better to use it than to lose it. So it will take a bit of energy from the battery as well as the 200 watts that's going spare, and it will also do that to heat the water. So if we get a really sunny day where the battery gets full really quickly in the morning, and then maybe it hazes over a little bit and it's not quite so bright in the afternoon, but there's still a little bit of power going spare, still better to use that to heat the water and take a little bit from the battery than to just let it all go to waste. So that's what that's for. And yeah, so it's been quite good. It has helped to get the self-use level up. Often the small amount of energy, the sort of 400, 500, 600 watts that's going spare, is not enough to do anything else with. It's not enough to warrant switching on the immersion heater, because that pulls 3000 watts, and it's not enough to sort of push into the car, because the car takes 2,500 watts. So this is a good sort of small level of power usage that can use up those smaller bits that would otherwise be exported. So yeah, it's worked quite well, and it's certainly helped to push our self-utilization up. I've got a little bit of footage here of the device switching on and off, and how it works and stuff. So I'll let you see that now, and then we'll be back right after this. Here you can see the device has just turned on. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon now, so that's it coming on as part of the rule that says just switch on anyway. But it had already been on and off and on and off many times over the course of the morning, and as you can see, the temperature's already at 86 degrees, so it was already almost all the way there anyway, which was the whole idea of the system. So all that energy that had gone, would have otherwise been exported to the grid, has been used to bring that water up to temperature. I was just setting the temperature that I want the water to remain at on that button. By default it's 85 degrees, but you can change it to be 98 degrees, which is what we want really for tea and coffee. Every time it goes off, it resets back to 85 when it next comes on. So the first person who gets in when we come home in the evening needs to just remember to go and switch it up to 98, so that it's ready for teas and coffees. So now I jumped ahead a bit, and it's just reached boiling point, and then very shortly after this it goes into the keep it warm mode. So it'll just keep it at 98 degrees now. And that uses very, very little energy then to just periodically add a little bit of energy in to keep it warm. So it's just a few watts per hour, so it's very efficient. And here you go, I show you using the plug. You have to push an unlock button first before it will let you use the dispenser. That's just to sort of keep children safe. And you can just press the button and it'll pump some out. There's also a button underneath, so you can just put the cup underneath and pull towards you, and that will also dispense the hot water into the cup. So you can see there it's in the keep warm mode, and that it's set to 98 degrees. So now the unlock light has gone out, so it's now locked. So if a child was to come up and just try and push the dispense button, obviously nothing would happen, and also button underneath as well to dispense it that way is also locked. If you come to use it and it's currently off, but you know that it's got hot water in it, you can actually use a push pump dispenser on the top, which has to be moved into the unlock position, and then you just press it down and it'll pump out some water manually. So you don't have to have it connected to the power if you want to use some of the hot water that's in there. There is an alternative way of getting it out. Okay, so there you have it. This kettle, I think, it wasn't that expensive. It was about £50 or something, I think, from Amazon. There is actually a 5-litre version, which I didn't spot until I'd already bought this version, unfortunately, because I think I probably would have gone for the 5-litre version otherwise, just because, you know, that water, you might as well use that energy, and if if you've got a bit more water, there's a bit more energy you can use to get it hot. And there's always use for hot water in the house, albeit for cooking or for drinking. So yeah, I would have got the 5-litre one had I known, but it's a bit late now. What else can I say about it? Yeah, that's really it. I'd certainly recommend it. It's a good device. We've not had any trouble with it. It's got a good, handy feature in that it automatically starts boiling when power comes on. So you don't have to push some sort of start button or something like that, which obviously wouldn't have worked with the automatic plugs. So as it stands, the plug turns off, the device goes off, the plug turns back on again. It automatically starts to boil the water. And then that obviously is exactly what you want. It's no good having a device, for example, like our washing machine, that if you power it off mid-cycle and then you power it back on again, it won't carry on where it left off. It will sit there and wait for you to press the start button, and that's obviously no good. And the same with our tumble dryer. So when you're looking for devices that you can use as part of an automation system like this, it's important to find out whether or not they can carry on from where they left off when they start receiving power again. So, for example, our dishwasher does work that way. You can set the program you want, get it ready to start, and then turn the power off at the plug, shut the door, and then when the power comes on at the plug, it literally just carries on from that point, and it will start running the program to do the dishwashing, which is exactly what you want, and is why we're able to control the dishwasher to obviously switched on via one of these auto plugs during the day as well. So if you're looking for any devices like this, bear that in mind. But that's all for this show. It's a short one. Just wanted to sort of tell you a bit about this little idea I had. There's a lot more stuff coming. We've got a lot of things on the go, so there'll be another video shortly explaining a bit more about what's going on and what we're up to. But until the next one, see you later.